Are you one of the many busy professionals working in offices day in and day out? Do you wonder how some people grow their wealth fast, retire early, and play on workdays? Well, you're in luck, because Ginny Bowling hosts this show, Pivot to Prosperity, where she interviews people that can do just that. Play on workdays. Many guests have become financially free. She also interviews people that are on their journey and people that are in support roles, like attorneys, contractors, brokers, and others. Commercial real estate is the common element. She is on a mission to be sure busy professionals know they can own substantial commercial properties too, like apartments, self-storage facilities, and others, and not have to do the work managing them. Passive investing is the key. Syndications are the typical method. Tax write-offs are some of the biggest rewards. Ginny and partners find the deals, build a strong team and business plan, then offer the investment opportunities to passive investors. New episodes are released every Tuesday at 12, so watch for new releases. If you want to get involved, let us know. You need to get pre-qualified to hear about most deals. See the show notes for contact information.
Hello. Ginny Bowling here with Pivot to Prosperity, brought to you by Pivotal Real Estate Investments. And today I have with us Diana Lin. Hi, Diana. Thank you for coming on.
Hi, Jenny. Thank you for having me.
Now, we connected because we are both members of CREW, which is Commercial Women in Real Estate. I wish I had connected with that a long time ago. I would say that it's one of the best groups of professionals I've ever been a member of. And I've known about it for a couple decades, I think, and I never did join. So I'm really glad I did. But in any case, so you're located in Dallas, Fort Worth. Tell us about you and your journey and exactly where you are. And Dallas, Fort Worth is very big.
Yes, of course. So I was actually born in Houston, Texas. And so I've made my way to Dallas because my husband's from Dallas, and we just ended up agreeing that we'll live in Dallas. So I'm a full-time real estate investor, focus mostly on multifamily investing. Before I became a full-time real estate investor, I was a practicing architect. So I would practice architecture for about 10 years, and getting into architecture, I actually graduated during the last recession in 2009, 2010. So at that time, as a freshly minted architectural graduate, there wasn't a job for me. So because there was no job in real estate, especially during recession, my husband and I just ended up going to China to find a job. And so my husband back then, my boyfriend at that time, he's a real estate attorney, so he got affected by the recession as well. China had a lot more economic opportunities for job opportunities for us in our industry. So I found a job, my first job in Beijing, China. He found his next job in Shanghai, China. So we did long distance for a little bit. I practiced for about 2 years there, and we both ended up coming back to Texas and landed ourselves in Dallas. And so I worked in Dallas in about another 4 or 5 years until I learned about real estate investing and heard about this concept of multifamily investing through syndication. And so in order to kind of understand how investing worked, we started to first passively invest into these type of asset classes. And that started about 2018 and 2019. So around that time is actually when I left my full-time architecture job, because I was more interested in investing in real estate. And then afterwards, 3 years into investing and still kind of doing a little bit of architecture is in 2021 when some of our passive investments in multifamily actually went full cycle and sold. So we saw the proof of concept of multifamily investing. So that's when I decided, instead of continuing as a passive investor in multifamily, is when I shifted to become a full-time sponsor or a general partner into these deals. So I've been a GP since 2021, still am now. And back then it's more on multifamily value add properties, asset classes, and shifted a little bit more into multifamily development. So that's kind of where I am right now.
That's great. With the decision to sell in 2021, things were hot. Oh my gosh, with COVID going on and everything, you
Hmm.
probably did really well with those, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. It gave us a false impression that all the deals do that well.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We were
Hmm.
talking before we came on. I started out in a recession as well because
Mm.
I was an appraiser in the 80s during the savings and loan crisis. And so saw a
Hmm.
lot of that. And I can understand that's kind of a bleak way to get started.
Hmm. Hmm. Right. But
But
then when you're in
yeah.
the bottom, you can only go up, right?
Well, and so we should speak on that because everything was going up, up, up. And I launched my company and I was going to in 2020. I was getting off of a yacht with all these investors. Actually, it was a cruise. And one person was medevac. It was March 8th. And we weren't sure if we'd be able to get off
Mm,
because of COVID, but we were
mm.
able to get off. But I thought, oh, maybe I shouldn't launch the company if people aren't going to pay rent.
Right, right, right. Uh-huh.
So I held off. I wish I had proceeded, but so I watched and I observe a lot too. But in any
Yeah.
case,
Uh-huh.
so but everybody got FOMO, right? And
Mm-hmm.
the time to be buying is now that it's down here, and a lot of people
Exactly.
think we bottomed out now. So
Yeah, yeah.
this is the time really to be buying. So
Right, right. I mean, by the time I graduated, I didn't have any capital to invest in real estate in the beginning, but I saw that trajectory of everything going up and up and up. And then so me and a bunch of other millennials at that time, we're just gonna wait for the next crash and then we'll invest, right? But like even since 2013, 2014, when me and my husband were looking at real estate, my husband I always kind of make fun of him. He's like, we're at the top of the market. And I was like, okay, we'll wait till the next crash. And the crash just never came, right? So until
no, yeah.
much later, right? So all of it just kind of held on to our capital for longer than we should. And if we were to invest back in 2013, 2014, I think that our net worth would have been a lot higher than it was before. But anyways, we live and we learn, right? So when we did invest in 2018, even then we're kind of nervous that we're still investing at the top of the market, and yet investing to an asset class like multifamily, where it's typically a 5-year hold, ended up being a 3-year hold, was like a 1.8 to 2.3x equity multiplier. So yes, the market helped, but we, at least got an exposure of understanding how multifamily works as an investment. And so I think that even though we are entering into a down cycle, we're going to learn the most from these type of environment, right? Especially if we are currently operating one or are we invested in one, right?
Yep, and we have something else in common. We both are used to working with people that have degrees in their discipline, the architects, the land planners, the attorneys, all these people that should have the best grip on the market, right?
Oh yeah,
So,
yeah,
so we think we do, and we think
yeah,
yeah, and you know what the lesson learned is? Nobody does. And
yeah.
you got a dollar cost average pretty much to get into, right?
Right,
So
right, right. I think we I reflect back to kind of my training as an architect. We kind of were trained to learn our profession really well, right? But we're not trained to be an investor. We're not trained to be a developer, right? We don't understand, or we're not honed in on the risk taking aspect, right? So that's more of a school of hard knocks. You kind of have to do it to get comfortable with it. I think as a professional, we're just used to getting that comfort of the biweekly check from our W-2 job. And so why take the additional risk of putting additional capital into real estate that you may not end up getting your money back? And that's a worst case scenario, right? So that's why you don't see a lot of the professionals really pivot or jump into real estate investing. But we still see folks like us who do leave our full-time professional job to get into real estate investing, and we don't regret it because we're learning and we're getting better at it, right?
well, and we all get busy with life and we're focused on our job, which demands a lot of hours. So it's almost like we have blinders on. And I mean, Lordy, look at me. I was negotiating acquisitions for the state of Florida and for cities and counties, and I was dealing with syndications. I was buying from them, and I didn't think
Mm-hmm.
about me getting in them. It was like
Mm.
busy doing my work, right?
Right.
And
Uh-huh.
so it was like in 2018, it was like a light bulb moment that I can be doing this. I didn't, part of it is I didn't know the laws had changed.
Mm,
You know, the Jobs Act of 2012 and 2017
I
did
see.
give a rebirth to syndications and now
Right.
sophisticated investors can get in, right? So
Right.
makes a
Mm-hmm.
big difference. But
Right.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
so,
But
but
I would
anyway,
say that, your experience helped you become, you have a lot more perspective and insight on how it works versus someone who didn't have your line of work, right?
yeah. Oh, right. Yeah, for
Mm-hmm.
sure. Because yeah, we truly had to transact with them too. Because when you're buying right of way, you might be cutting off a parking lot or part of a building or demolishing buildings. So we had to deal with the syndications. We had to get approvals for, when we did hit a property that was a syndication.
Right.
But
Right. And to give you kind of a little anecdote about my personal experience as how my architectural experience did help in one of our syndication is that, we bought a 22 unit and one of the space is a laundry room that we can convert to a studio. So we knew we were planning to convert it, and then we hired a local architect in Phoenix area to help us with the permitting process. And because this is my line of work, I reviewed her drawings and saw that it wasn't quite professional, but then at the same time, it's still like a tiny unit, it's only like 400 square feet. And so she submitted the drawing set to the city, and the city came back saying, okay, if you want to convert one unit into a studio, all 22 of your units need to be up to code and install like a fire sprinkler. And that's a prohibitive expense that you want to do on a C-class property, right? So, but the thing is that the architect didn't try more than that. So I started digging into the code and saw that we can adapt to a 2022 IECC, International Existing Building Code, something like that, instead of the 2018. So put together a 7-page code study that we submitted to the city, and then I worked with the city directly because our architect either what didn't really care or didn't have the knowledge to push for what is favorable to the owner. And so I took control of that process. We got approval to just do fire sprinkler in one unit instead of 22 units. So in that sense, it helped us in that project. So even during like doing design aspects, like designing the signage for the property itself, that's something that I took on myself, that the signage vendor itself provided unsatisfactory design to me that I didn't like. So took that on as well. So there's a lot of aspect that is helpful when you are a professional in a certain industry, and also get to utilize my husband's expertise in real estate law to help us during the transaction as well.
yeah, I'm sure you add value in a lot of places like that. And people like us aren't afraid of permitting and talking to the government officials at all either. So that helps.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Actually, I just was doing a podcast with the guy a couple hours ago, and he off the air, he was saying that him and his dad are working on a DOT thing, and I gave him a couple pieces of advice, but it sounded like because this is a small town, I said you might want to just take some cookies in there too. It is
Right.
amazing what some cookies can do, right?
Right. Uh-huh. Can imagine.
Yeah, but yeah, so no, I'm sure you add value in a lot of things like that because you know what it should look like and you know what's unreasonable. And
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people that are working in these places, well, not as much the big cities, but they don't necessarily know or read it or interpret it quite like what the legal world does,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
so
Right. And then, one of the things that does give me exposure being an investor is knowing how to raise capital or to put together a deal, and to partner with those that complement your skill sets, right? So that's something that I'm still learning, but finding it's pretty crucial to have as part of the investment process.
tell us about the project you have under development now.
Yeah. So working on my first development project, and that's in a submarket outside of Albuquerque, New Mexico. It's called Rio Rancho. It's a booming suburbs outside of Albuquerque. It's really close to the Intel campus. So this piece of land is prime for multifamily because there is a shortage of housing in general throughout the city. And lots of single family home developments are happening in the area, but there isn't enough multifamily. So we're going to be one of the first to come into the market, 150 unit, and we're getting close to pulling permit on this deal. So super excited. I'm part of a team, and one of them is a strong partner who has about 20 years of experience as a developer. So we're excited about it. I'm excited because as an architect, I've always kind of wanted to be part of a development. So able to utilize some of my experience of working on other projects in the past to help this project come into realization.
Let me ask you, because a topic that comes up a lot for us on the show is alternative modes of construction. Are you into any of the modular or other types of construction, or what do you think?
Not necessarily into those type yet. I'm not too familiar with it. I think it'll take me quite a bit to understand it, but I've seen some of my colleagues or investors being part of it, doing modular construction, maybe even like single family homes that's literally made out of like a metal stud that you can finish in 2 weeks, right? Or 3 weeks. That is all systematized. So I'm intrigued by it, but haven't really gotten into it to quite understand it. And this one is because this particular development that we're doing is just going to be a typical wood frame, 3-story multifamily development. So nothing special about it.
Well, they're all special, especially your first one.
Oh, right. It's special for me, but in
Yeah.
terms of construction type, it's going to be, a typical type of construction.
Well, so I kind of am predicting it's going to be the secret asset class of this decade, because as I talk to more and more people through the masterminds I'm in, I am shocked at how many manufacturing companies there are out there now, and how many professional, experienced architects are backing them now too.
Mm,
And so we just had in Orlando about 3 months ago, I guess, the biggest modular housing conference or convention or whatever convention in the
mhm.
country. And I thought, oh, goody, I get to go, right?
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
$1,600 to get in,
Oh, wow.
so I
Uh-huh.
didn't go. But I couldn't
Wow.
believe that. I'm
Wow.
hoping the price was that high because they let all these government officials in for free. But I don't know. I guess architects may or may not be totally behind it, but
Uh-huh. Yeah, yeah. I mean, if the architects are endorsing it, I mean, I'm kind of curious because like there's less need for architects because this is probably all prototypical. You don't need to design it. It's all like, just already designed to begin with, right? So,
you want me to connect you with some of them, I will down here. Anyway, I know some in particular, but yeah, it's crazy that you wouldn't think architects would be promoting it, but
right, right. But at the same time, you do need architects to kind of like make sure to code in their city, right?
yeah.
That at
Yeah.
minimum, you need that.
Or maybe they're trying to make a name for themselves if it's their name on it.
Maybe, yeah. I
Maybe,
wouldn't
I
be
don't know.
surprised. I wouldn't be
Maybe you should
surprised.
do that. No, I'm
I
kidding.
know. Look into it.
Anyway, so I do need to go ahead and wrap this up, but let me ask you that big question I ask all my guests.
Mhm.
And that's, well, first, is there anything else we should talk about that we didn't cover?
No, I think we covered most of
Okay.
it. Yeah.
Is there a pivotal person or event that has brought you either to where you are now or pushing you forward to something in particular?
Yeah, yeah. I always refer back to this one event is when the point where my husband and I we decided that we're going to shift it to being a sponsor or a general partner into these multifamily deals where I was pregnant with my second child and my husband was asking his boss for some time off. In Texas, you don't really get paternity leave, but at least get 2 weeks off, right? In 2 weeks, not paid. Anyways, just asking for 2 weeks to spend time with his with our newborn, and his boss is like, "Yeah, for sure, you should take 2 weeks off, but just know that you're on point on your projects, right, while you're away." And so and this is the same time when we got about 3 to 4 of our passive deals that sold the same year, when we were deciding whether or not to continue as a passive investor or to be a general partner. And so with that moment is when I realized it's like we need to take massive action to change the trajectory of our life, because we got another child coming into this world and I want both of us to spend time with our children. And so by continuing on this path of being at the mercy of someone else that you work for, you're never going to have autonomy of your own time. So we decided that that's a moment where we're going to shift into being a sponsor on deals instead of being passive, because then we can quickly get to a point of our life where we can be independent from this job. So I like to cite that experience because it kind of made me aware that, being passive is great, but it takes a little longer to get to independence, right? Versus being a general partner. So, and that's how we kind of made that shift to being a lot more of an active investor rather than a passive investor.
Right. Yeah, totally understandable. That was a pivotal point. Yep.
Yep.
Great. Well, okay. So why don't you tell people how they can reach you? And remember, some of them might just be listening on iTunes or Spotify. So if you need to spell anything, feel free.
Sure. Yeah. You can reach out to me on LinkedIn. My name is typical, but you could just punch in my name, Diana, last name Lin, and punch in AIA, which is my architectural registration. I'll be one of the few Diana Lins out there. Or you can reach out to me via email. It's Diana, Diana, at Navi, NAVI ventures, VENTURES.com. So happy to connect afterwards.
Very good. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show, and we'll put all that in the show notes and share it with you, of course, when we're ready with it.
Awesome.
Okay.
Well, thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you.